This podium was designed and built. Okay. good? Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you taking your time on this Saturday afternoon to come hear us talk. My name is Jim Whittington. I'm an information officer assigned to the Eagle Creek Fire. We have a nice little lineup here for you to give you some information about the fire and what's going on with the community. First thing I'd like to do is recognize some of the folks who have made it a point to be here. And we'll start at the local level first. We have Mayor Paul Blackburn. We have State Representative Mark Johnson. And from the governor's office, we have Nate Stice. Nate? Okay. Thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate you being here and the support it shows for attending. First thing we'd like to do is have a few words from School Superintendent Dan Goldman.
Well, welcome everybody. We're happy to have you here in Hood River Valley High School and in this gym. Just for a point of reference, this gym about 4 days ago was filled with smoke, and now it's clearing out. So feel good about today. I really just want to thank the emergency responders who have come to our aid here in Hood River County. We've been involved as a school district in all levels of incident command to joint information centers throughout the entire crisis. And I can just say thank you to our first responders and to the statewide and really national response to this fire and to our community. We appreciate it as a school district and representing the children of our county. I can say with confidence that we've been well taken care of. So I'm going to keep it short. I know that you've come here for information. We're going to have breakout sessions apparently, and the school district will be happy to respond to any questions you have. But if we just quickly give a big round of applause to our emergency responders. Thank you.
Thank you for those opening remarks. We really appreciate it. I think one of the great things about working on this fire is the coordination and cooperation we've had from a whole host of agencies, and your local school district being one of the main players in that. So I wanted to make it a point to let the superintendent get up here and say a few words. And also it'll drive me crazy if I don't recognize the class of 1981 who donated this substantial podium. So thank you, class of 1981. As the superintendent mentioned, what we'll do from here is we'll go through a round of briefings and providing you some information. And then after the speakers are done, we'll all hang around up here. You can come ask us questions. We also have several maps around the room. We'll have those staffed by fire personnel. Feel free to go up and ask any of them any questions. We're going to be here as long as you want us to be. As long as you have questions for us, we'll be here. We'll get right into it, and I'd like to next introduce West Side Fire Marshal Jim Trammell.
I have two hats. One is the Fire Marshal for West Side and also as a Hood River County Fire Defense Chief. I'd say good afternoon or good morning, but for the past 2 weeks it's been hard to tell what's been morning and night other than light and dark. You can't see the sun. You have to look at your watch. It's 4 o'clock. I didn't know. Hopefully we're getting near the end of that. I want to back up a little bit, say back to September 2nd. We all saw a plume of smoke rise to the east or to the west of us here in the valley, the beginning of the Eagle Creek fire. As a county defense chief, my responsibility is to make sure that we have resources available to fight any emergency, this one being a wildland fire. I was told of the fire was threatening Cascade Locks. First thing Sunday morning, I was in Cascade Locks by 6:30. I had to order all of the available mutual aid resources we had available in our area, which were about 20 engines. Once we have exhausted those mutual aid resources, when we have the ability to contact the Oregon State Fire Marshal and request extra resources to help us battle this fire, basically saying that we do not have the resources to fight this fire appropriately. At 2:44 on Sunday afternoon, the Conflagration Act was invoked by Governor Brown. Since then, we have seen a small city grow out of our fairgrounds. We've seen convoys of fire trucks. I believe up to 20 strike teams or 100 fire trucks were in our valley since September 2nd. Armies of firefighters, aviation resources of helicopters, fixed-wing aircraft, all here to help our valley. And again, biggest round of applause we can ever have for our wildland firefighters. Your local resources, 5 engines stayed on the fire for the first 4 days. When enough resources had come into the valley that our guys could go back and take care of you, our local citizens, they were released back to our fire stations. And they have continued to take care of their own districts and their own cities, at the same time being aware of what's taking place in the valley in case we do have something that comes our way. So for everybody, even our local guys, another round of applause. Thank you.
So one of the key components in dealing with any fire is understanding the weather. And one of the major partnerships we have in the fire community is with the National Weather Service. They have incident meteorologists who are trained forecasters, also trained in fire weather, who they send to our camps, and they stay with us in tents and everything else, and they are there to give us detailed weather information on all parts of the fire, specific drainages, weather systems coming in, all that good stuff. And we have one of the best ones that I've ever encountered in Sean Weigel, who's going to tell you about the weather right now.
Let's see. All right. Good day, everybody. How many of you were at the last meeting? And you probably remember me holding up my phone with a little bit of green on it and being really excited that rain was coming, just a little bit. It was like one shower that was coming in. Well, now we got this. And basically, we got one more day of fire season, in my opinion, today. And even today is pretty seasonable, but we're going to have a pretty strong fall-like cold front come through tomorrow, and that's going to be the beginning of a major pattern shift towards autumn-like weather. I think we're probably going to get about, I'm talking about on the fire, not necessarily in Hood River, but about an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches out of the first front tomorrow night and Monday. And then going into Tuesday, it's going to be showery, and then we get an even stronger front, it's looking like Tuesday night and Wednesday. So this map that I have up here is actually the total rainfall over the next 5 days, actually through Thursday. And you can see right here, it's kind of tough, you can't see the numbers, but the reds, the fire is basically like right here. Coincidentally, where the heaviest rain looks like it's going to fall. So it's looking like we're going to be getting possibly 3 to 5 inches total on the fire over the next week. It's nice to be able to bring good news. So Hood River itself, I still think, you all know it's a little drier over here, but even this particular model is even showing about an inch or so of rain in Hood River itself. So maybe an inch and maybe even an inch and a half over the next week. So definitely a fall-like pattern settling in. It's going to be cool enough to talk about snow levels too. Up in the Cascades, it's looking like snow levels are going to drop to like 5,000, 6,000 feet. So that's just another sign that seasons are changing. So, with this much rain, there are some concerns that come along with that type of rainfall. I mean, we just got eastbound I-84 open, or I'm sorry, westbound. I got it wrong. Westbound I-84 open. Hoping to get the whole thing open soon. But when we have this much rain after a fire, it tends to shake things loose, like rocks and debris flow and that type of stuff. And trust me, ODOT's well aware of that, and they're prepared for it. But this could create a bit of a mess in some spots, especially the burn area. But other than that, this rainfall is good news, and I really don't think, with the seasons changing and everything, I don't think that fire season's going to be able to come back from this, and it's going to be very difficult for the Eagle Creek fire to come back from this amount of rainfall. So keep your fingers crossed. I'm pretty confident that it's going to happen. Everybody that I'm talking to is pretty confident that it's going to happen. So starting tomorrow afternoon, I think things are changing. So thanks a lot.
Okay, so if you've been following our Facebook feed, you know that every morning we post an operational update with our next speaker, Operations Section Chief Rick Miller.
Good afternoon. Bear with me as I try to point out on the map and explain what is going on today and into the future on this. First thing, I do want to mention that the prediction of the rain is great. It gives us an end in sight, but we also have today and tomorrow to get through, and that's really what I'm going to explain here, what we're looking at doing with the fire being close enough to some of the values at risk in the communities. We cannot turn around and walk away yet. So I'll start on the east end here, and Mitchell Point sits right here. So all of our control lines from Mitchell Point all the way almost up to Wadham Lake, they're all in, they're ready to go in the event that we have to burn them. Now we haven't gotten aggressive and started to burn any of these lines yet, based on some predictions and probabilities of what the fire was going to do. A lot of that has been based on if we got aggressive and put fire out here that may cause some environmental damage on those slopes and then further increase the probability of post-fire effects. So we haven't done that. We've been prepared to do it all along if we needed to, and I believe we're not going to have to over here, but we got to get through today and tomorrow before that happens, and so we are poised out here from Mitchell Rock going up to do that if we have to, and then as well along the Highway 84 corridor through Vento Park, and please forgive me if I mispronounce a bunch of these words out here today. There's a lot of drainages and such out there I'm trying to figure out, but Vento Park area, we're also prepared to protect the values if fire decides to back to the north there and impact Highway 84. A lot of great work from Shell Rock all the way back to Cascade Locks in the last few days. Our burnout operations in the last few days from Shell Rock back to Cascade Locks has been very successful. We were able to keep the intensities down as much as we could in there to leave some vegetation, as much vegetation on the slopes as we could. And we continue to have a presence in there and making sure that that's mopped up and doesn't move into the future. So that has been our last big couple days worth of operations. Now going west from there along the Highway 84 corridor, if you see the black on the map, that's what we're calling contained line. We're feeling really good that all of that will not move any further going into the future. So a lot of great work all along there. Coming into the Bridal Veil area, you can see black line coming around the corner on that as well. The troops out there have been really working hard at mopping that up and making sure that fire is not going to continue to burn to the west anymore and impact the values over there. And today's operation, the one point source that we have that we're really keeping an eye on is the upper end of Bell Creek and Oneata Creek, I believe, these two little pieces in here. That's been really active the last couple days. It continued to burn to the south. And with our east winds predicted today, we've got a lot of folks out in that area. We're prepared to engage if we have to keep the fire from burning further to the west. And that's a point source that we're really working at today. Get into tomorrow and the winds change, and that threat probably is out of there if we can get through today and tonight. Then coming around into the Eagle Creek drainage system here and Tanner Creek system here, that fire is higher elevation. It has backed since we have been here. Every day it has continued to burn very slowly in both of those drainage systems, and it has not built up a head of steam and forced us to do anything. And in fact, we feel that it's going to probably stay contained within the wilderness boundary and that piece there to the south. And then over here on the east side, Wadham Lake area sits right up here. Once again, all of that fire in Indian Mountain sits right in here. That fire has been slowly moving that way over the last week, and it has not impacted any of that yet. And we're going to continue to be patient in there and feel that it probably won't impact any of that area. One thing that we did yesterday, or day before yesterday, if you guys are aware of where Mount Defiance is, there is some communications towers up there. We had some folks go up and see what kind of work needed to be done around that to make sure that infrastructure was there. And with the access and the ability for us to do much on the ground, we weren't able to send troops up there, but we did get some fixed wing and put retardant around all of that infrastructure up there to make sure that it's still intact when we're done. And that will conclude the end of my report, and I'll be around for questions later if you guys have any.
So you see what the fire's been doing, and as you all know, for the last week or so, it did make a push in this direction. And one of the things that we always are dependent upon is the close coordination and cooperation of the local law enforcement folks. And we have a great one and a great relationship here established with Hood River County Sheriff Matthew English, who will speak next.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Finally, we're starting to hear some relatively good news, and they've made some excellent progress on the fire. And I think, I'm hoping in the next 36 hours we can all kind of breathe a sigh of relief, and that this rain will come in as predicted and really help a lot of things out. Until we get there, the evacuation levels that we've put in place will remain in place. We'll be available after this to kind of talk in a breakout session if you have particular questions about your area and kind of why we made the decisions and that we have, and if you have questions about evacuations, etc. But just to give you a perspective, as the crow flies, we have spot fires that are within a mile of Kingsley Reservoir. So that's why we've made the decisions that we have. It's pretty close to the valley. So we've really had some good luck in the last 24 hours. The fire really hasn't moved at all. It was a pretty scary couple days to see about 6 mile move towards the valley. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow afternoon and hoping that we can all breathe a sigh of relief. So if you have questions, please seek myself out, or we have Deputy Joel Ives here, who is one of the people that has done a phenomenal job with pushing all of the information from our office to the community, and also Katie Pritchett with our office. So please seek us out, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
So the firefighting effort is what we call unified command, and that means that the incident management team that is managing the fire is also in unified command with the Oregon Department of Forestry to get support and assistance on state and private land issues, and we're also in unified command with the Oregon State Fire Marshal's team to help us protect structures. And that arrangement is quite different here in Oregon than it is in many other states. And here in Oregon, we work hand in hand with the Oregon State Fire Marshal, and they have allowed us, by coming into the area and doing all of the structure protection and taking on that burden, that's allowed the wildland folks to really focus on the wildland part of it. And so we are in Unified Command, and so the next two speakers are going to be representing that Unified Command. And the first one is Agency Representative David Summer.
So I had prepared remarks, and I'd rather seize the moment and start with thank you for wanting to be students of what's going on so you can be taking care of your family, your neighborhoods, and understand what is that has happened and what is into the future. I also want to put it in context that the emergency service community right now, there's about 21,000 people out nationally. Here in the state of Washington and Oregon, there's over 9,000, and here at the fire, which brought you to this meeting, under the leadership of these fine people, is still 1,000 people here to finish the job that you want and expect, and you deserve. This place, be it 2 states, 6 counties, multiple agencies, the interest here in the Columbia Gorge scenic area with the Mount Hood, you know, they represent our interests to serve you as, and you deserve as the general public. There's watershed values, there's wilderness values, there's scenic values. This is your home, this is your businesses. On September 2nd, you didn't necessarily ask for what happened, and now we have a footprint that exceeds 45,000 acres in an area that's very important to you. We want to be here to understand that, and I need to share through my 40 years of doing this, the fire is very important and we will deal with this, but this will, the resiliency of the landscape and you and your communities, this event's going to continue for several months, if not several years, until, in terms of trying to understand how it would fit. The land will come back. Many of you will want to know how you might be able to help. Many of you will have questions on how you can be part of those solutions. And that's wonderful, in that we will want to be here to listen to, you know, next steps. The immediacy right now, I think what we want you to understand is we still have 2 days where the fire is still going to move around. We're going to take care of that. And as the rain starts to come, that will be a wonderful, I think many of you feel that in your heart and your interest. I just ask how wonderful you have received the group, and we, on behalf of the federal, state interests, we are proud of what's come here, but we will be here to help answer questions that will come long after this. Some rain is great, too much rain, we'll be back in the business of working together. How this fits with the places you love, the places you want to recreate, the places you like to visit, that's going to take some time. So I'm going to return to the last thing. Thank you for wanting to be here. Thank you for caring, and let us know as we continue down this journey together how else we can help us be successful.
So there are 16 Type 1 incident management teams in the United States, and Type 1 incident management teams are typically assigned to the most complex of incidents. And that complexity can come from any direction. It can come from fire behavior, it can come from logistics, it can come from political and social interest, economic interest, any number of things. On this fire we have all of those. And we're fortunate to have one of the best teams in the country, and it's led by John Pearson, Incident Commander.
Well, good afternoon. I usually start each morning for our operational shift and every night for an operational shift. And, you know, I encourage when I stand up on stage to provide leader's intent, you know, I gauge the crowd of those boots on the ground by their response when I say good morning or good evening. So I'm going to test you guys when I say good afternoon. Thank you for the response. You know, the current size, as alluded to, is just over 45,000 acres on the Eagle Creek Fire. Also, yesterday we took over command of the Archer Fire across in Washington State. That fire's in 100% containment at 260 acres. The Eagle Creek Fire, as of last night, was 32% contained, and primarily that's the black line that you see here on the map that Rick alluded to. As David alluded to, we have a little over 1,000 personnel on the fire, actually 1,060 personnel on the fire, which represents many resources and states across the United States that come to assist in these events such as this. You know, we mentioned Unified Command, and I would really like to reiterate that Oregon Department of Forestry, the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area, as well as Mount Hood National Forest. Those are the entities that provided the Unified Command, incident commanders, the delegations, along with the fire districts associated with Hood River County and Multnomah County. So, you know, that's where we get our leadership and our direction from as it relates to managing the incident. And, you know, I think without these entities, you know, it would be a difficult challenge for all of us if we were acting alone or independent actions on that. As well as I'd like to also reflect back on the communities, the support that your fire districts, your fire chiefs, your law enforcement, the sheriff, the state police, all of the entities that come on board to help in these emergencies is greatly appreciated. As a community, I would like for you all to recognize that and give those folks a big round of applause, because without them we cannot be successful with what we're charged to do with that. So, good job. Along with Unified Command, I think it was last Saturday, I came here and sat in the crowd and I listened to the Northwest Area Team 6, as well as the red team from the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office provide information and updates on what was going on with the Eagle Creek Fire, with probably a little over 600 folks in this room. Greatly reduced. That reflects some of the accomplishments that have occurred over the course of the last nine or 10 days here, and you know, we're making progress, as Rick alluded to. You know, I'd like to display the effort from the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, and Ian Yoakum, who's the IC, he's standing right over there next to his boss Mariana. You know, Oregon State had 26% of their fire districts represented on this incident. You know, that included over 84 fire districts that came in support with their task forces to, you know, to provide that structure protection aspect of this incident. So those folks did an outstanding job, and I just wanted to reflect that with you all. And you live in a wonderful place that has this model to protect their communities and what have you. So that's another round of applause for those folks. I know there may be questions about strategies and tactics that we've applied to this incident, but you know, we get our delegation of authority from our agency administrators, and we put together what we call values at risk. And I would say, with the complexities associated with this from all aspects around the perimeter of this fire, whether it be the Columbia River, the I-84, the historical Highway 30, the Oregon State Parklands, the scenic area, the Mount Hood National Forest, the wilderness, the Bull Run watershed, the communities that surround this, the number of population and wildland-urban interface that's associated with this. It's a very complex event. Strategically, we look at those, we call those values, and those values at risk, and strategically we look at those and we place priorities based on expected fire weather and fire behavior, and put our resources out on the ground to address those. So, you know, some folks may have seen, you know, no action on one part of the fire, or a lot of action on another portion of the fire, but I just want to convey to you all that that's part of the strategy. And, you know, the number of resources and aviation assets that we've had on this incident has been within the capacity, being the #1 fire in the Pacific Northwest as well as in the nation. You know, so that support has been here for us to accomplish what we've accomplished to date. You know, we've heard Sean talk about the weather. You know, the fire itself is phase 1, and we have about 36 more hours left to do, and we're prioritizing our assets on the west end due to the expected wind that we're getting and the fire movement around Bell Creek, which is, how does this work? In that general vicinity. So that's where our focus is, and you know, utilizing the helicopters to drop water and check the fire and being patient, knowing that we full well expect some significant moisture that's going to help us out with that. So that's our priorities today, as well as on this western end up here in Hood River Valley, you know, ensuring that we can check that with aviation resources as well. You know, a little more advantage up here on this end of the fire because the prevailing winds and what have you are in our favor, so that we're doing the right thing at the right time and at the right place is what we're primarily focused on. But in lieu of that, we get through the next 36 hours, there's going to be another phase of this incident with the amount of moisture that is coming. You know, through the cooperation and coordination with the Public Works and ODOT, as an example, Sheriff's Department, State Police, the parks, and all of that coming together, being prepared for what that may mean is very, very important. You know, there's going to be a lot of things that are likely to occur with rain events throughout, just not this week, but also into the future, and the potential impacts that may have out here on the landscape, on the highways, etc. And I have full confidence in the folks that are cooperating and working together that it's going to be a successful mitigation of those impacts, and they'll work towards being that. So I appreciate those, and I think we should give the cooperators that are involved with the fire and the cooperators that are going to be involved with the next phase of this a round of applause as well for moving forward, because that's where we're going to be going. Just to want to be transparent with that. So, thank you guys. Lastly, I want to thank you all as a community. The acknowledgement from you all to the resources and the organizations has been tremendous and outstanding. From, you know, the encouragement, the signs that you see driving through the communities, thanking those boots on the ground that are doing a great job, the encouragement words, the things that are brought to ICP or Incident Command Post out at the fairgrounds. You know, it's been outstanding and a true pleasure to be a part of this community for over the last 10 or so days, and we look forward to finishing strong here as we move into getting a good handle on the Eagle Creek fire, as the sheriff mentioned, getting those evacuation levels reduced to where the concern is minimized, and moving on into the future. So with that, I appreciate the time that you've spent with us today, and we're here to answer any further questions after this. So thank you very much.
So that concludes our presentations. And again, all of the principals will be up here, and feel free to come up and talk to us. We'll also have maps staffed around the room. If you have any particular questions about the fire, we'll have fire personnel there. And pretty much anybody wearing these kind of pants that are either brown or green or occasionally blue will be happy to talk to you and answer questions. Thank you again for coming. We really appreciate it, and we're glad to be here. Thanks.